everyone, and welcome to Crimes and Closings. I'm Dia Kappelman.
And I'm Jenny Olsen-Dayton.
And we are here for our fifth. Yes.
It's exciting.
We're doing great.
I know. I'm proud of us. We're consistent.
We are. But one thing is we have yet to do any of our episodes where one of us isn't sick. And it's you this week with allergies. And you're also the one that's presenting.
Yep. So I'm going to sound like a mix of Peter Brady and Barry White. And so,
You're good.
It's going to be interesting.
You have our support.
Thank you. I appreciate that support. I feel
it. And this week you are doing a real estate crime.
A real estate crime.
Yeah.
That is unsolved, which I know how you feel about unsolved.
Do we have to do unsolved?
We have to do unsolved because this is the only crime that happened.
Ever. There's not one other crime you could have chosen. It had to be this one. When did this take place?
2008.
So there's not been any crimes.
No crimes since then.
This is it. Our job is done.
Yes. Last episode.
It's our fifth and final one.
Yes, but I think it's an important one because it really it sets a couple of different things. One, that you can sometimes be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that sometimes you can do everything you possibly can to do things the correct way and to be safe. And unfortunately, bad things happen. So I think especially as real estate agents, it's an important one to learn about and know, and I guess maybe honor the victim, because it could have been any of us. It could be any of us. And it's kind of a bad deal. So we're going to talk about the unsolved murder of Lindsay Buziak. Lindsay was a 24-year-old real estate agent in Vancouver, British Columbia. She worked at a RE/MAX office up there with her boyfriend's mom. Her boyfriend was Jason Zalio, who was not only a real estate agent as well as a mortgage broker. So they had actually met in real estate school in 2006. And Lindsay got the phone call that so many real estate agents like. It was the, hey, I'm actually coming into town. My husband has been transferred to British Columbia. I have 3 days to buy a house. You've been referred by a past client, and my budget is $1 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I take that phone call.
Yes. I think most agents will. But the thing is, Lindsay's gut told her something was not right. And so she immediately called her dad. Her dad had been a real estate agent for over 20 years, and also talked to her boyfriend. And there was something that really bothered her about the phone call. A couple of things. The first is that this was 2008. She did not advertise her personal cell. She did not give it out. She did not really do too much business on it. Very few people had it. So she was weirded out that they called her personal cell.
But if it was a referral from a past client,
right,
you could write that off.
Yep. So, but she wanted to make sure she thanked the client. So right after she got off the phone with them, she called the client, but could not confirm the lady's identity because of the fact that the client was out of town.
Oh.
Which is unfortunate. Later, it turns out that that referral had never happened. When the police had questioned the person that they said referred, she's like, I have no knowledge of this. So,
but whoever called her had to have known that that was a client.
Right.
Ooh.
So this was a personal crime. This was a very personal crime. The second was that she described the woman as having an accent, and not just any accent, somebody pretending to have a Hispanic accent. She's like, something was just not right about that.
That's unique.
Yeah. And one of the things that just throughout this entire getting ready to go to the showing, she just was uneasy, and she expressed it to a lot of people, but she did take some precautions. And unfortunately those precautions failed. So the phone call happened on January 31st. And over the course of a couple of days, they had over 10 conversations. So back and forth. At this point, she started feeling a little more comfortable. She had numerous conversations, had picked out some houses, and they agreed to meet at 1702 Duluth Lane. A beautiful 3-bedroom, 3-bath home, just roughly like $934,000. It was in a quiet cul-de-sac that was actually under construction. So there was 4 other homes in the cul-de-sac. None of them were inhabited.
Was this on purpose?
Well, they think so. In some documents that were released in 2020, they said that they had some kind of proof that they used MapQuest to get their getaway plan in place. Yeah. So that was pretty interesting. So, and this we're going to start talking about the timeline, because the timeline is really, really precise. So Jason and Lindsay go out to a late lunch. There is a receipt that Jason paid at 4:39 at a restaurant named Sauce. Jason then goes to pick up his friend in an auto body shop. They had plans later that night, so his friend was going to ride along with him and was going to actually check on Lindsay. He was actually going to sit outside of the showing.
The boyfriend.
The boyfriend.
So the boyfriend was going to pick up a friend and then go to the showing.
Yep. So just sit outside, just kind of make her feel a little better.
Yeah.
It had been reported when the documents that came out in 2020 that he had repeatedly offered to do the showing, but because it was such a huge commission and with such an opportunity, Lindsay was not comfortable. She's like, I'll just do it. It's not a big deal, but I'd appreciate you being outside. So, everybody felt comfortable with it. Jason was described as 6'3". He was a hockey player and he could be very intimidating if he wanted to be. He was a big guy. So everybody was comfortable. As soon as the dad found out that he was going to be there, he was like, I'm good. So then the workers left that Duluth properties about 5 o'clock. At between 5 o'clock and 5:30, people were kind of leaving. One of those workers reported seeing Lindsay and a couple, a man who was about 6 foot, dark hair, and a woman who was about 5'5", blonde, and in a very unique pattern dress. They saw him meet Lindsay and then go into the house.
But Lindsay was supposed to be meeting just the wife.
Just the wife. So the husband showed up too, apparently. Yeah. So that's what happened there. So the lockbox, real estate agents, if you've not seen, a lot of us use electronic lockboxes that can report when you access the key. The lockbox was the key was taken out at 5:29. So at that point, Lindsay and the couple go in, shut the door. In Vancouver, a lot of agents have different opinions on what they do. Some agents lock the door. A lot of agents don't, and almost all the time they will leave the lockbox outside, and sometimes even with a key back in it, so that if another agent comes, they can access the property. The lockbox was gone and was brought inside, and the house was locked.
Was that typical of her to do that, or do you know?
No, it actually was a reason that Jason started panicking when he got there, because he knew it was like a no, it's not something she did, and the fact that the lockbox was not outside, that's really what triggered him to call 911.
Because he knew that wasn't standing.
Yeah.
Why wasn't he supposed to be there?
So that's what happened. So at 5:38, there's a text message that says, "Hey, I'm running a couple minutes late." Or at right before 5:30, there was a text message, "Hey, I'm running a couple minutes late. I'll be there like 10 to 15. And so the last text message, Lindsay responds and says, "Okay, my people just got here." So then at 5:38, there's a text message that says, "I'm about 2 minutes away." So he pulls in, he gets there about 5:40. Okay. So they are sitting out front. As they pull up, they see a couple walking out and then go back in. Jason says he sees this. The friend says he did not see this. There was kind of some conflicting things. At one point, the couple was actually out on the porch. At another point, they just saw the man through the door. So Jason was a little worried, but if you're like, I know when I've gone to showings, I mean, sometimes people will just like, I'm going to try the doorknob. I'm going to try the doorbell. So he wasn't really, out front. He wasn't really worried. He just kind of figured that the showing was going on. So he's like, I'm going to go ahead and pull around to the side of the house. So he goes and he pulls to the side of the house, and he and his friend are kind of talking. About another 5-10 minutes goes on, and he's like, I'm starting to kind of worry. So he texted Lindsay again, and Lindsay did not open that message. So he's like, okay. So they pull back out front, goes up to the door. He realizes it's locked, and then he starts panicking. He immediately calls 911, and he's like, here's what's going on.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going in the house.
He went from 0 to 100.
Yeah. So he looked through the glass and he saw Lindsay's shoes. And he said the way they were kind of kicked off, it was unusual for her. I know when I'm showing houses, I'm like, my shoes are off.
Yeah.
But he said he had a really sinking, like a gut feeling that something was not right. So the door's locked. He can't get in. They go around to the side of the house. The friend looks over and he sees the back door is open. So Jason boosts him over the fence. He runs around to the front of the door. The friend goes in, opens the door. Jason takes off up the stairs, goes upstairs screaming. He says in the police report, he said he was up the stairs in about 2 seconds, screaming Lindsay's name the entire time, runs directly into the master bedroom, and he finds her. She's been stabbed over 40 times.
Wow.
Wow. There's no defense wounds. So she actually was walking into the master bath through the bedroom, and they got her from behind. So Yes.
But where's the couple in all of this? If the guys are in the house now?
They left either through the back or through the front when he was up front. They left on foot.
On foot.
On foot.
Why was there not a car there? Or
There was not. The workers said that they arrived from the other side of the cul-de-sac. So they were kind of under the assumption that maybe they had parked at a different street and walked over.
Oh, so they couldn't even tell, hey, they were driving this car, or they, wow.
Yep. So
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, that's just it. It's very unfortunate. The timeline also then kicks up in the fact that a friend ended up reported had a phone call from Lindsay's BlackBerry. And then when the police pinged it, they realized Lindsay's BlackBerry had an outgoing call at 5:39. And they think what happened was in the assault, her BlackBerry accidentally dialed. So they pinpointed to the minute that Lindsay pretty much got attacked.
And at this point, the boyfriend had texted her and said, are you okay?
That he had just arrived. So he had arrived at 5:38 and the call went out at 5:39. So he was not really too concerned just yet. He just kind of figured it was a showing that was going on a little longer.
But almost.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, in all of this, no DNA evidence. There's no fingerprints, no hair strands.
Stabbed
40 times.
And there's no DNA.
No DNA evidence. She was not sexually assaulted, nor was anything stolen. So they believe that this is a very personal attack. The only reason that, I mean, they were after her. They were not after money. They were not after anything else. They were there to kill her.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And that's a really vicious personal attack.
Very personal. Very, very, 40 times.
Did they look at the boyfriend?
They looked at the boyfriend, of course. Yeah, that was the first, especially since the timeline was so like, and then at, 4:39, I was here. The CC footage showed him getting into the car. And then, so he had an alibi. I mean, it was CC footage, the guy in the car, 911 call, everything added up. He also took a lie detector test and passed. So please do not look at him as a suspect.
Okay.
There is and it goes back and forth. I mean, I think we all, as soon as somebody ends up missing, we're always like husband, boyfriend, significant other. I mean, it just goes without saying. The dad who's been I can only hope if anything ever, God forbid, happens to somebody I love, I can handle myself with as much grace as this man has. You see interviews with him and he's very well-spoken. You can tell how in pain he is, but he is very much, they say at one point, he said, I held my daughter after she had died, and I promised her that I would find out who did this, and I intend on keeping that promise.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. So he's been, he came forward and he said that while things looked really good with Lindsay and Jason on the outside, he was very controlling. His mother was very controlling. His mother also owned the, Jason and Lindsay were living together in a condo that his mother owned.
Okay.
But she owned a lot of property. She was a really big name in the real estate industry in British Columbia. So
it might not be a controlling thing as much as just a convenience thing.
Yeah. I mean, there was never really, I mean, the police pretty much eliminated them from the suspects.
But his mom saw her right before she was.
The mom did see her right before. And one of the other interesting things that happened in this, nothing ever came of this. This was only reported by a friend of Lindsay, was that about 2 or 3 weeks after Lindsay passed away, middle of the night, a woman who was friends with her named Nikki ended up getting a phone call, and she was asleep, and the woman, she couldn't understand. So she woke up and she's like, what's going on? She was trying to talk to the woman. She's like, I realized the woman was talking in a fake Hispanic accent. So then she started freaking out. And she's like, I think this is the person that killed Lindsay. So she wakes up, she's freaking out. She calls the number back. Nobody answers. Over the next day, she calls the number 20 to 30 times, finally gets somebody to answer. It's Jason's mom. Yeah. So Jason's mom goes, I was trying to call my assistant, who's also named Nikki. I have no idea how your number gets on the phone. So again, it's crazy, but it's not, there's no verification from police. So we don't know if it's something Nikki just made up or
just to insert herself into.
Yeah, unfortunately there are people like that. Or if there's something else. There's a lot of talk that wants to blame both the mom and Jason. There's not a lot of evidence, which is unfortunate.
But that's a pretty, but why would the mom be calling a friend? Why would the mom be calling somebody else? If it was just to kill Lindsay, then her job is done.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
nobody
yeah, and
else
that's what
called.
they said. They said that it was she was trying to call her assistant's name was Nikki as well, and they got the Nikki's mixed up in their phone. So
Did they find the phone that was calling Lindsay?
they did. They found, so there's 2 phones. The phone had actually been bought 3 weeks before Lindsay was killed. So, and it was actually the only thing that it was ever used was to communicate with Lindsay. There was another phone that was purchased that was only used to call to check the voicemail on that phone. So there are 2 burner phones. They did find the person that registered the phone. It was a fictitious name, but it was not that person was not tied to the murder in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, so that makes Nikki's story seem a little bit odd, because
Yeah.
if it was just a burner phone, if it was just to talk to Lindsay, why would that person still have that phone?
Right.
Unless they were that dumb, and it doesn't sound like they were.
No,
That's
unfortunately, it was very much a personal attack, and it was very much something that was planned.
Almost sounds like a hit.
Yeah.
Just a flat out hit.
Which brings into some other things. So a lot of people say British Columbia, that area is very small. Everybody knows everybody. So Lindsay, when they started looking at her Facebook friends, they noticed she had some pretty serious criminals on there. There were some pretty intense people that were in the drug world.
Was she in the drug world?
There was no report that she ever used drugs or that she was involved in anything. She did date a boy at one point that his and Lindsay's phone had both been tapped because of his involvement in the drug world.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so there is thought, there are 2 reports. In 2006, when they first met, Jason remembers Lindsay saying that she saw something that she shouldn't have. So both he's reported that, and then her dad also reported
What
that.
did she see?
They don't know, but 3 months prior to,
Did they not ask her?
no,
Is that not something that
I don't know.
deserves
It was
some
not,
follow-up?
it was not followed up on.
If you ever came up to me and said I saw something I shouldn't have,
Yep.
I can't tell you my response would be, cool. Are you hungry?
You want to be a burrito?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was not. And so, but it could also be that they are not releasing that information.
Okay.
So
Because
both,
if their phones were tapped, then it could be okay.
so both Jason and then her dad has also said that. So about 3 weeks prior to her murder, she went to go, I'm sorry, 3 months prior to her murder, she went to go visit her dad in Vancouver. At that point, somebody turned state evidence in Vancouver against a very large drug ring. After Lindsay returned home, that drug ring got busted wide open. There were a lot of arrests. So there's speculation that people might have felt that Lindsay was the informant and that was actually a hit.
Oh, okay. Now I've got more questions.
Sure.
Were the people in the drug bust her Facebook friends?
They were, yes.
Ooh,
So it was not necessarily the main guy, but his brother. So she was
Okay.
friends with a lot. And when they started looking at her Facebook friends, there were some really unsavory characters.
Which, and it could be her, it could be something she's involved in, but also could just be, it was her boyfriend's friends.
Yep.
She was friends with them. You know, you can't always say what your boyfriend's friends do. They
Yep.
they work, you see them, that's it.
Well, it could be just a small area. I mean, like if everybody knows
Yeah.
everybody, you know,
So
it's just
it
one of
might
those.
not be anything
Right.
until she saw something she shouldn't.
Yes. Until she saw something she shouldn't have. So yeah, there's that.
Wow.
So the case has been since very cold. In 2017, her dad actually runs a website it is Lindsay Buziak murder.com. And it's a very, I read some of it. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of reports. But in 2017, somebody posted on there, and I'm not going to read it because it's horribly offensive, but it was just basically, I killed Lindsay. The cops are stupid. Nobody cares but her crybaby dad. And just very, very hurtful. That actually led to somebody who was very well known in the criminal world.
Okay.
He claims, of course, that he was not the one that did it, that somebody did it as a joke.
Somebody logged into his account
Yeah.
and posted something.
Yeah. So yeah, that was very unfortunate. Nothing came of that. In 2020, the case kind of opened up again because they agreed to release a lot more evidence, and kind of let it go from the public. Part of that evidence was the fact that there was no true referral. The woman that the woman said had referred her had came forward and said, no, I didn't refer. So that came out. The fact that they used MapQuest to probably find an escape route around the house also came out, as well as the fact, and this is kind of one of the weirdest. So Facebook at the time was very new. Lindsay was very, very active on it, including multiple messages back and forth. About 3 to 5 days before her death, it almost seemed like it had been scrubbed. There was no messages, nothing. She had over 700 friends. That all of the other times she had talked to quite a bit. There was no messages from the 3 to 5 days before she died. So that is very interesting.
So it could have been someone she was talking to.
Yeah. Yeah. They do feel that it was the people that murdered her probably didn't know her, but they do feel that it also was a planned hit. So somebody knew her, somebody was close to her that ended up murdering her in the end.
But they just don't know who.
They just don't know who, and they don't know why. So.
And I guess if she saw something she wasn't supposed to, we might never know what that is. They might have that all sealed up.
Yep.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But that's really sad.
It is sad because she did, unfortunately she did do all the right things. I mean, it's unfortunate, and I hope to God that maybe Jason was not involved in it. I mean, it always weirds me out when timelines are that precise, but he's going to have to live with the fact that he was late. And I mean, I could see this happening. I go on a lot of when my mom is going someplace, I'll be like, I know how crazy showings can get, and I'll just hang out in the car. I can't even imagine,
But would it have even made a difference if he had shown up on time?
If he was just sitting in the car.
If he was just sitting in the car, or it might have been a deterrent if they saw that somebody had visually seen them, but they saw the workers.
Yep.
And still carried on.
Yep. No, that's exactly right.
So him sitting in the car might not have changed anything. The only difference would be he was literally there when it happened.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So that is the unsolved case. And I hope for, it's heartbreaking. It's always heartbreaking when you see victims' families, and, her sister is in the interview saying she was down one day, and Lindsay created an entire Facebook page called, Why I Love My Sister Sarah, and had invited a bunch of people to do it. And her dad is just so passionate. And I have to, I'm that type of person. We talked last week about, the Irish temper and the Viking bloodlust. And I am the type of, when Mel Gibson does Liam Neeson, he's like, I will find you. And I'm totally that person. I'd be like that cold, so I feel for the dad so much, because he's like, I will find you. You are a coward. I'm going to find you, and I'm not going to rest until I do. And so it's very, very heartbreaking. And, heartwarming is not the right word, but it makes you just feel so much for the dad and the family.
Yes.
And to know that this bright light, somebody that, really was going to go someplace and was trying to be a good person, ended up getting cut down so quickly.
I just can't get over how there's no DNA.
Yeah.
That's shocking.
Yeah. We're talking, literally all of this. The lockbox was tripped at 29. She was dead by 41.
So in and out really quickly, really cleanly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
And
and I have to wonder, I'm like, did they come in with gloves? I would be like, what are you gonna do? You got some gloves.
It's January in Canada.
True. Yeah.
I walked outside, it's literally snowing outside. So we would be, if someone came in today with gloves on, I wouldn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting as far as the real estate part of this. Normally we talk about the market, but just for other agents and even for our clients to understand that this is a very serious job we're in.
Right.
We're put in some really tricky situations. They can be really shady, and we have to be very careful.
Yeah.
It sounds like she did almost everything right. She was uncomfortable. She told people about it. She had someone sitting outside waiting for her. It sounds like her boyfriend did everything right. He was calling and checking on her.
Yeah.
I would love to have a friend like that is, if I didn't answer a text in 2 minutes, was like, all right, please, something is wrong. I see her shoes. They're not right. That's intense. But it is good as agents to keep in mind that if you don't feel comfortable with something,
Trust your gut.
trust your gut.
Yeah.
I've gone with agents on showings before, and if they're not comfortable, I'll tell them, just say you're training me.
Yeah.
Just say just so you have someone else there. And if one agent tells you no, I can't go, ask another agent.
Yeah.
We will band around each other and help each other, because this is.
And if you don't, you probably need to find a new brokerage.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly right. And I can't stress how, I mean, if you think about it, and God willing, Jason is innocent, but like how important the guy, I mean, like, because they said he immediately ran, he like ran up the stairs and he knew something was wrong. His gut told him, Lindsay's gut told her, listen to your gut. And, this is the only industry in which, and his clients and consumers understand that, like I don't go into basements until, if I'm showing, I just don't go into basements. I actually was showing houses, and in this market, it's crazy. I showed up at a house a couple weeks ago, and there's like 15 agents and clients. We all go in at the same time. We're looking around and everything. And a woman walks in by herself, and we all just kind of assumed she was with another couple or another family. And, people started trickling out. And then I quickly realized that she just walked in off the street. So thankfully there was another agent. I let my clients know what was going on, and we just kind of followed her around and talked to her and got information and got her out of the house. And something like that can happen. And so understand, this is one of the only industries that we get a phone call and we go and meet somebody, we drop everything, we go meet somebody, a stranger in a strange house. So if somebody asks for a license, if somebody asks to meet the first time at the office, just know that we're doing what we can to, protect ourselves. It's nothing personal.
I go in basements.
You do go in basements?
I do.
Yeah.
Well, because we're in Missouri, our foundations are, there's usually a lot of
if it's a serious
foundation
in this market, if they're serious, I will eventually, once we get, but if I'm just doing a mass showing where there's people coming in and out, I'll just,
And you have to go with your gut on that. There has been, I've walked in to do some previews, and that's where an agent is by themselves.
Yeah.
And I've had sellers be home, and I've walked in on them and said, okay, I'm good, I'll come back later. So you have to listen to your gut on that too. There are times where it's okay to tell your clients, even if you're with them, look, let's go ahead and leave. We can head out. We'll come back if we need to.
Yeah.
And I lock the door behind me when I go in for showings.
Yeah.
I don't like.
Yeah. And that's what, mom has had showings in which somebody has walked in off the street and they've not been the most mentally stable. I mean, it's been an inner city house in which, unfortunately, somebody that had, was on the streets, and, it took a while to get him out the door. Mm-hmm. And it just is.
You have to be careful. And you're not supposed to you're supposed to let your clients walk through the doors first, so that they're never behind you. But sometimes that's difficult too. Yeah,
it's awkward to get out, especially when you have a gentleman that's like, after you, and I'm after you. Yes. So it's just go, I think that's important with whatever you do. Just go with your gut. And if something tells you it's not right, freaking listen to it. Just
it's okay to be weird. It's okay to be even rude.
Yeah. When
your safety is involved, to say, no, I'm not comfortable with this.
Yeah. And I think that's especially hard, is so many times, we're in the Midwest. I mean, I am trained to be polite. I mean, am, it's sometimes okay to just be not as polite if it means that, you walk home and get a hug of your family.
Exactly.
So, I do really hope for everybody involved that Lindsay's murder is solved, and whoever is responsible is brought up and charges, because it is a tragic loss. So,
well, thank you for that one. That was a good one.
Well, I promise next time I'll do something solved.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it. Like they're behind bars or they're dead.
Or, it is 100% certain. There's no question.
Yeah.
I like those. I need some resolution.
I know. Yeah, I'm hoping that we get some resolution eventually.
But that was a good one. Yeah, that hits close to home with.
Yeah. And it's not just women. I mean, we had a few years ago, an agent shot and killed that was a man.
Yeah.
It just is. It's a scary world. So, and not everybody's bad, but you just got to protect yourself.
You have to protect yourself against those who are.
Yep.
Wow. Yep. So, life lesson.
Yep. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great one. Hopefully one of us we'll both be well.
Yeah. Yes. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Hopefully the mold will be down and the pollen will be down. So have a great week.
See you later.
Bye.